Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt man! All right! Episode 244 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Jeremy from Rock Hill Screen Printing in South Carolina. Let's go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Shirt Show podcast. I'm going to get right into our buddies here and then hop right into the episode. It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. They also offer custom racking and a wide range of other supplies. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, ffffrank.com, or greatfuckingscreens.com. And seriously, if you're not using Frank's screens already, Graphic Screen Fashion screens, you're kind of doing it wrong. I mean, there's others, but Frank's are the best. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay is the easiest way. Graphics is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphicsource.com or 1-900hotstuff.com, or hit up Nick because he's a beautiful sweetheart. SNS has been our go-to apparel source since day one. Discover an extensive range of apparel that blends innovative design with unbeatable comfort. Their customer service and quality control are the best out there. Check them out at ssactivewear.com. The best. If you haven't tried the American Apparel 1301 garment dyed shirt yet, you are missing out. This heavyweight cotton shirt that has a rough and tumble vibe of your favorite concert tee. With a wide rib collar and a vintage faded look, this shirt will definitely be your weekly wardrobe rotation. Ask your rep to get some for your showroom today. For over 90 years, Stahls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they are always looking to innovate and educate in our industry. Head over to stahls.com to order your transfers and check out on YouTube to get taught a thing or two. Guys, gals, whoever's listening to this, if you could do me a quick favor, and if you're watching this on YouTube, like it, subscribe. If you're listening to this, take a screenshot of what you're doing, where you're at, what you're printing, and share it on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Let us know how it's going, how you're feeling. You know, sit here and do these episodes. I kind of want to hear from you guys. You know, I get to spill my guts every week. Why can't I hear from you? I'd appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk to Jeremy of Rock Hill Screen Printing. How's it going, dude?
It's going good. How are you doing, man?
Oh, it's a beautiful, what is today? Even Wednesday?
It's Wednesday.
Yeah. I'm a blur right now. You know, I'm trying to get my feet back on the ground and get settled.
Yeah. Is it, is business good for you or?
Yeah, things are great right now. I mean, for January, like it's been a pretty great January. I don't know. I've gotten mixed reviews from people in, you know, text groups and Discord and whatnot that, you know, some people are dead, some people are busy. I don't know. I'm confident. Like I'm getting hyped on like, hopefully this year is like where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you ask Christy and she might be disappointed in where we're at, but like, I look at numbers and I'm like, wait a minute, we can't complain about this. Like,
right.
We've grown every year, but like January back in the day was just horrible. I mean, like everybody's, you start like, hey, let's launch a new clothing line or something. Let's do something else. 'Cause this is not working. Right. Like, and then it just got to the point now where like, it's cruising along. And I'm okay with where we're at, although she's got goals, right? So, I mean, I know she's not meeting those goals.
What a loser. She's got goals.
I know. That's that Sales Inc. stuff she's got going on there. So
yeah.
She's trying to hit goals. So, I think we're in a good spot, but like you go to Rogue Printers and all these different places and you're like, oh man, people are struggling.
I don't know if it's just because I had kind of like a flat year last year that like now I'm like January seems awesome. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm hopeful. Like I'm trying to be like, you know, more positive in 2025. Like I don't want to be doom and gloom or whatever. And you never know, this tariff thing might fucking destroy us all anyway. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, you're an avid podcaster, so I'm seeing you're doing more of these like live things now. Is that more the style you're stoked on, or what's going on?
Yeah, I think so like anything, I'm sure doing podcasts, it's like finding the time to do it right, and then being able to do it well, and then getting the right guests on or whatever. And so I was like, I really want to push it, but like also like Christy challenged me to kind of just do like hey, my friends are doing this in the business community. They're just kind of giving an update on their day, and it's just like a random video they're sending to each other. And I was like, why don't we do that? But like do it in a good 5 minutes for the day, and just
like a vlog almost. Like a
vlog. Just get, but not necessarily like, we still want to give value. Like we still want the end product to be halfway decent. And so like last week, I just was like, you know what, I'm going to try it and see how it goes. And I tried the live thing through YouTube and Riverside. We're using Riverside. And then the second day I was like, you know what, I'm throwing Instagram in there too. And I just threw a tripod on my desk and hit Instagram, and I'm just like, go for it. Well, of course, the streams start dying on you halfway through and stuff. So I'm dealing with the headaches of all that.
Yeah, lives are rough, dude. Like I'm glad I have like Chad to edit, especially like with this. Like I just did the sponsors and stuff like that before I had you on, and like I have to repeat a few of them a couple times because like you're gonna catch up my words or whatever. And, I don't want to disgrace them or anything. So it's like nice to edit. But yeah, we've done like the Instagram lives and stuff. And I do want to get back into those. We were doing a thing called Sunday Night Live, which I really want to do more of. And I plan on kicking that back off. So if you're listening and you want those, let me know. I'm definitely down to do more.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I had an epiphany because like I was going in a direction with it. Christy was off with her surgery and everything else. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to go for it and we'll just see how it goes. And Christy,
that's what you got to do.
Tell me if it's trash. Like, she came back and she's like,
the one with the goals.
Right. Like, so she goes, I like it, but I'm not into the pressing matters. It's not my vibe. And I was like, well, I knew hot flashes was your vibe because you've been joking around about it for the longest time. It was like her and my wife were like, we're going to do a podcast called Hot Flashes, women in their 40s, like
there you go. Perfect.
And so I was like, all right, cool. You can do hot flashes. That's cool. But like, I think I want to focus on some things that are specifically for what I'm doing, like I'm into, right? And what I noticed was her first hot flashes was, let me tell you how to do better PR. Hey, if you want to get into writing, don't cuss, don't play rap music in the background, don't do this, and this. And I'm like, that's every screen printer. You can't who's your audience? And then I'm like, no, this is it. This is why we're going to do separate ones, because she's going to speak to certain audiences that what subjects that she wants to talk about. Right. Like, and she's not sacrificing who she is for that.
Oh yeah. See, that's the biggest thing is like getting on here and just being like authentic to you and like talking about what it is you're into. And that's the thing with like Shirt Show and whatever is, you get on here and you talk about screen printing or what's going on in your shop right now or what's going on in your life, like mix it all together. But like mostly we're here to talk about t-shirts. Like we're here to talk about the screen printing life and what it entails and, all the things. So I don't know, like I love doing it every week. Like I love sitting down and being like, hey, like this is what's going on. And then like hearing what's going on with you. Like I was texting you, asking you what might interest you to talk about, and you were like this, and this. And I was like, dude, hell yeah. Like,
yeah,
that sounds awesome.
To talk about. Yeah. Listen, it's everything I do is trial and error right around here. And so you fail miserably. Even the podcast was an example of that. Like I did a little tour out in the shop the other day. I was like, hey, I improved my like flow of my shipping area. Right. And I got those ideas from other people. One of them's Andy. I just saw that he was sorting his boxes on the floor and I'm like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try this, I'm going to try these different things.
Who's really good at that is Squints Prints. He's in Canada, and he always has like the best reels or the best like stories in my opinion. He's like, oh, I'm upgrading this, I'm changing this. It's like always some kind of like improvement, and I just love watching them. And Scott at King Screen too. Like he always has like some little like, you know, thing to improve on in the shop always, and it's just so inspiring to see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, as I was walking through, I like grabbed the girls like organized their different decals and stuff in a bin. I'm like, all right, so here's where this bin is, and I picked it up, and it just went all over the
place. Yeah,
total fail. Like, and I'm like, well, there you go. This is what live is, you know. So
exactly.
So
anyway. Introduce yourself a little bit. I know like a lot of people probably know who you are, but you know, you've had a whole life, it seems, before you even got into this. So tell us who you are, and I guess like get into that story a little bit on how you started. Yeah.
So Jeremy Ray from Rock Hill Screen Printing. We're in Rock Hill, South Carolina. A lot of people call us Rock Hill, thinking it's just like a cool name for a shop, and it's literally just the city I live in.
I mean, it kind of is. I didn't know it was the city you live in.
So. Yeah, it's the city I live in. It does sound pretty cool though, Rock Hill. Yeah. We're like, what's going on with Rock Hill? Rock Hill. Like, well, Rock Hill is kind of a shithole, but anyways,
you're making it better.
Parts of it is, yeah. Rock Hill. There's a road in Rock Hill that's like, I don't know if you've ever driven to Key West. You kind of like envision from Miami to Key West it being this beautiful road along like all these, you know, waterways and stuff, and it's
a desolate wasteland.
It's a desolate wasteland all the way until you hit the bridge, right?
Yeah.
You're driving down. We call it Cherry Road here. We're like driving down Cherry Road all the way to Key West. You know.
You know what's funny is I mean, I'm in upstate New York, so I'm like right next to Canada, but like I hadn't ever been to Toronto. And I was going there for a UFC fight. This was a long time ago. It was to watch Jones versus Gustafsson, which was like one of the best fights ever. And I got to go see it, which I was stoked on. But like I always had this thought in my head of like Canada being this just like beautiful, you know, as soon as I cross into Canada, it's gonna be like clear waters, blue skies, trees, mountains, like beautiful, whatever. And it was like we crossed into Canada, and our drive to Toronto was just like, again, like desolate wasteland. There's like abandoned warehouses along the side of the road everywhere, and just like all these things. And I was just like, oh God. I mean, Canada's beautiful. I'm just saying that road that we took was just your instant, like, what the hell? Where did I go?
On my way to paradise through hell.
Yeah. But
Rock Hill's like Christy said, don't embarrass us. I just embarrassed.
We're in the shithole.
No, we're good. We're good. It's a great city. It's so we moved. So I moved down. I'm originally from Toledo, Ohio. I grew up there into my 30s and decided that like, hey, we wanted to go put someplace warm. So I was an engineer. I was a mechanical engineer. That's what I got my degree in. My wife's a nurse. And I'm thinking, well, if I can get a job in engineering somewhere warm, then Jill my wife can get a job anywhere because she's a nurse.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of on a whim did the whole monster thing, got a job down in Charlotte, and which is Charlotte and Rock Hill, Fort Mill are like literally right on the border of South Carolina. So with, you know, Fort Mill is where we ended up, our destination was, and when I got here, I drove down to Rock Hill and immediately turned around. I hit Cherry Road, immediately turned around, like, no, I'm good. But it turns out Rock Hill is way cheaper than Fort Mill. It's just it's one of those like thriving places to live in America. It's always hits the magazine, you know, the best place to live in America is Asheville and Fort Mill, you know, or something. So,
right.
So anyway, so I'm doing this engineering thing for years, 22 years. So I was hit my 40s, mid 40s, and I'd been coaching a lot of football, and I've coached sports all my life, and so I got this niche that I was going to be this football coach that like just did videos and helped other coaches and stuff, and I was going to get out of my job, you know. And then I was like, you know what? I also can start like this equipment refurbishing thing because that's a need in the industry, in the football side of things, in the helmets and the drop testing and all that stuff. I'm going to do that.
When I was a kid, I kind of grew up poor, and that's where I got all my equipment. Like I I played lacrosse like year round. I played for the school. I played summer league, box, all the things. And that's where I went and got myself. I think it was called like Play It Again Sports or something.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have that too. Yeah. So like that whole thing, I was into that, and I started to realize, I'm like, you know what? I must not really like my job if I want to. I'm trying to find these other things to get into that not work anymore. And it turns out like engineering's great. The money's good. The issue with it is that there's a crap ton of stress, and it's like, what have you done for me lately kind of mentality in the industry. Like you're the perfect engineer. You're making cool designs and everything else. And then the minute something doesn't work, you're like, hey, you're at the bottom of the poll. You're just a number to us. We could get rid of you at any time.
Dude, so you entered screen printing, which is the same thing.
I know. Yeah. But it's just,
you're doing good work. You do one bad job, you're on the fucking
you're
curb.
Screwed. Yeah. Your Google ratings are trash. So I was in that, and I was like, the stress level, like, I mean, check, like Dylan, I'm doing candy bars. I'm basically wrapping candy bars at 300 products a minute. Like, and I'm getting to go all these cool candy places. My kids loved it. I was at, all the Nestle and the Hershey and the Reese's and all that stuff. And then I decide, you know what, they started getting slow. So I looked other places, and this guy was like, hey, come on in. We'll make you the senior engineer. I went in there. They're like, all right, your first project's going to be this spiralometer for a noob tube. And I'm like, okay, so grenade launcher, and it's got to spin so many times before it activates the grenade to explode. And I'm like, so that's going to be up to me? Like, I got to make, and then I'm like, I got to Google that because I've never done that before, and then I was like, all right, what's the next project? And he's like, do this, we have this facility in Tennessee where they do all the nuclear, like, reactor stuff. And he's like, we need to stir weld in that environment. So there's going to be this hot cell, right? And you need to do a robot that mixes this welding, but you need a second robot to fix the first robot in case that breaks, because it's a hot cell. So like there's radiation everywhere. If both of them go down, we've got a major problem. Right. And I'm like,
what were you saying before about stressful?
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, I got to Google how to do this too. Like, I mean, this is not stuff you learn, right? I'm not a nuclear scientist. I'm not a nuclear engineer, right?
So basically an engineer's description is somebody gives them a task and they just Google a bunch of shit and figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I could design like crazy, and that's where like the artistic side came from. I love like 3D modeling and all that. Like, that's what I gained knowledge in, was I learned a software. Like I would tell any engineer now, I'm like, you could go through all the school and do all the math and all the calculations and all the stuff that you need to do. Yeah. Some materials, all that stuff. If you can just learn SolidWorks or a CAD software, you could be an engineer, because that's all they're going to hire you on is, are you any good at the software that we spent thousands and thousands of dollars on? And that's really what it boiled down to. So I was really good at that software. And so I 3D modeled all the time. I thought it was cool. It was like art to me.
Yeah. But so how do you go from that life to this?
So I basically, my kid started Jackson's. It was 16 at the time, the whole clothing line thing. And I had already been using screen printers for football. And so I was like, buddy, if you're going to do this and you actually want to make money on it, I know what it costs to print shirts right now that I'm paying for my football team. Like, you're not going to sell that shirt for $20 and make much money off of it, And so his designs were a little bit elaborate. And I said, let's simplify the things and we'll try to do it at home. So I went out and looked on Etsy and being the engineer, right? So I just designed.
It just reminded me of the, like, Dad, can we go to McDonald's? And you're like, no, we have McDonald's at home. Yeah. And it's like, it's like a shitty frozen cheeseburger.
Wonder Bread.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, and I went and built a press out of scrap lumber over Christmas break. And I ordered a Lazy Susan off of Amazon and built my press. I got pictures of it. It's pretty awesome. It's a 4-color press. And I'm sure
perfect registration.
The perfect registration. Oh my God, it was horrible. So I've got the whole story where like I was, trying to do all that stuff in my garage, had no clue about emulsion. I was ordering Speedball off Amazon. I didn't understand water base, anything like that. And Speedball was like a water base. And so I was just doing all that in my garage, and we rattled off, about 100 hoodies and shirts total. And he sold them. And I was like, hey, there's something to this. And so I was like, tell you what, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Why don't I go take a class, and then I'll front you the money and buy a starter kit. And then I can set you up, and you can have this little side business, and you can print your shirts. Cool. Mm-hmm. That's where I met Christy. Was in the screen printing 101 class at TechSource. And so yeah, that whole thing started there. And then I bought the equipment. Of course, he wanted nothing to do with it from that point on. He was nervous to print his own shirts.
He got his friends the initial order of shirts, and now
that was it. That was it. He was done. So then I'm like, got this equipment. So I started printing, like, hey, just put it out there, printing for churches, printing for whatever. So I lucked into like a dodgeball tournament that had a bunch of like executives in it from around town, and they loved the shirts. So they all called me
for their own businesses. So immediately
I had like that networking thing going, and I'm sitting there at the desk and, getting, we go 6 months without really much to do in the engineering world. And then you're working overtime and weekends and all these things, holidays. And so I was like, I freaking hate sitting here, but I love going home and printing shirts at night. And so what would it take? Right. And then I just started talking to myself into it. I was listening to the startup podcasts, How I Built This, Guy Raz, and just a bunch of those things. And I was like, what's the worst that could happen if I just
go back to being an engineer?
I go back to being an engineer. Absolutely. So that's what I was like. That was it. I was like, Jill, I'm gonna quit, and she's like, you're what? So, and then my friends, my football coaches were like, yo, you're an idiot, dude. Don't do that. And I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? What am I doing? 6 months, maybe 3 months? I can change my mind. And I was lucky enough to have a boss to say, hey, he goes, I think you're nuts. He goes, but you got balls as big as church bells for doing this. And I can't fault you for trying. So go for it. Cause he goes, I'm the only one you could say this to, cause I've actually done the same thing. And again, I came crawling back to my boss. He goes, so I'm going to let you be you. And I was like, cool. So I went out and tried it, and I never looked back since, and kind of started slowly growing the business. My wife's like, we got to keep $5,000 in the bank account. And then like, we're going to order only one time a week. Every Monday, we're going to order stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. And then it turned into, we got to keep $20,000 in the bank at all times. Mm-hmm. And then 40,000, 70, 90. All right, we can't drop below $100,000. Like it just started, and we just kept on growing it, and started off with just me, and then me and her.
Were you doing all of this out of a garage at the beginning?
I did it out of a spare bedroom and then a garage. And then like my buddy was telling me, like, you're not being very honorable if you're going and working out of your garage, and your homeowners association doesn't allow businesses to be ran out of your house or whatever. And he kind of made me feel a little guilty about it. And I was like, and he's an entrepreneur too, and he's got his own business. He has a AG Composites, which is, he's selling carbon fiber rifle components for military contracts and stuff out of Alabama. So he's a good inspiration for me. But he's like,
speaking of, like, real quick, like, I've never lived in a situation like that, but I just see stuff online all the time. It's like, it sounds terrible to live anywhere that has a HOA.
It's horrible.
Like, why would you, like, it's, you can't do anything. Absolutely. There's no like originality in your home, or like you can't put shit out front or whatever. Like, I saw a thing a little while ago. I actually think I mentioned it on this show, where like this dude bought a boat, and the like HOA was pissed that it was in his driveway. So they made him put up a fence, but he put up a fence and then had a realistic artist come and paint the boat on the front of the fence. So it was just like a fuck you, basically.
Yeah. That's what I do. I do a lot of fuck yous for that. If they complain about the shutters not being the right color, I take the shutters off the house. I'm like, they complain about the bushes. I just ripped all the bushes out. I'm like, I'm not playing this game.
It sounds so terrible.
It's terrible.
Anyway, so you moved to another place, but you seem like you were kind of like in a mode of, like, you were kind of an established human at that point, you know, like you're not like an early 20s, like I'm eating ramen and shit. You're like, I'm gung ho and ready to go. So
yeah. I think it's, I think, you know, listen, I mean, you got to take chances in life. I think when you're middle aged like that, I mean, I'm 52 now. So, so early 40s, I was like, listen, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? Because I don't know how much longer I got to live. You know, I mean, I'm in 40s, you know, you're hitting your midlife crisis or whatever. But like, the reality is like, I only have one life to live. So why not try something new? Right.
Yeah. Well, now you're your own. It's up to you, basically.
Right. It's up to me. Yeah. It's up to me. And if I fail, I fail. And like you said before, we can just go back to being an engineer. And my wife was a nurse, and she kind of helped keep everything afloat. We weren't like hurting. Right. Mm-hmm. But then it started getting fun, and, you know, they started to, you know, the shows and the different things that you could go to. And I get like anything, I think when, you know, in engineering, the engineering background kind of helped in that. You get into a project and you either love it or you don't love it. I fell in love with screen printing, and I fell in love with the fact that you could be creative, and then you could go see it, shirts in the wild, like walk around and see your stuff out there and go, I did that, you know?
Well, one of the coolest like itches you can scratch with being this side of the artistic part of printing is you get the opportunity, and this sounds selfish or whatever, or weird, but like you get all these awesome artists sending you cool art, and you're like the other 25% of that creation where you get to print it, but it takes that artistic sense and skill to like mix the inks and play with like, you know, the separations and, you know, how it's going to lay down or how it's going to print. Like, and it's so cool to like create that, but you didn't have to necessarily create it. You know what I mean? Like they did the artistic part. You're just doing like a portion of that. And it's really fulfilling and awesome to like make that come to life.
The opposite side of that, though, too, is like my son is really into art, and I think that's why he didn't want to be a screen printer. Is that after I bought that equipment, he was like, he kind of realized that he was stuck just printing what his customers wanted, and he was trying to be the artist. You know, I want to print what I want to print, you know, like, and customers should give me their liberty. And I'm like, that's not how it works, buddy. You know,
right.
So there's the opposite side of that is he couldn't be who he wanted to be too, like in that artistry side without sacrifice. Like he would be doing stuff he didn't want to be doing, I guess, just put it that way. So he just liked to do the clothing lines for when he wanted to do the clothing lines, and when he didn't want to do them, you know, he was going to.
Well, now he's got dad to do it. So
work at Chick-fil-A or whatever. Yeah. But then he's actually back. So he's out on press right now. So, yeah, he adopted back in. I think he saw dad like going, he's like, Dad, people don't quit their jobs, go random out on this like this and be as successful as, you know, you have been. And he goes, and I'm like, dude, it's luck. Like, it's like, it's not like I knew what I was doing. I was just like trying everything and seeing what stuck. So, you know,
but it's like the luck thing. Like you said, what is that saying? It's like preparedness meets opportunity is what luck is. And you were prepared because you were an engineer. You did the math, you did the classes, you were getting prepared for your son basically. Yeah. And then the opportunity came where you were like, hey, I can do this. And now you're doing it. And then, so you go from the home, the HOA tells you to get the hell out.
Get the hell out, yeah.
And then you got your own place. But we kind of had a discussion that you said you went all in on the volts.
Yeah, so what happened with there was like, you know, you start to when you grow a little bit and your arms start getting tired. And I went to a show and the guy's like, hey, it was a Vastex guy. He's like, I was like, I think I need a second or a bigger manual. I think I need a better manual, something like that. And he's like, do your arms hurt? Yes. are you tired? Do you working late nights? Yes. I'm like, you don't need a manual. You need an auto.
I love that that's the sales guy's tactic, knowing that you're
Your arms
a
hurt,
manual screen printer. He's like, your arms hurt. I
Yeah.
got something I could sell you.
Yeah, but he didn't. He actually pointed me. He's like, he pointed me. He's like, don't go brown, right? So then he's like, he goes like, there's the rocks, and he said, then there's these Anatols, and I know that my buddy and blah 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 and has them. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so I started looking into them. And from an engineering perspective, so this is what I did at my last job as an engineer, is I basically took processes and made robots to do those processes, right? So I automated things. Mm-hmm. And when we automated, when I made equipment, when I designed equipment, I made two versions of the equipment. I made a pneumatic version of it. So everything driven by air cylinders and compressors and all that. And then I made a servo driven, and the servo driven was always the superior, it was the upgrade. Mm-hmm. And so when I was going into this, not jaded by, I hadn't been to any really big shows or anything.
You didn't have the thing in your head of like the Ford versus Chevy versus.
Didn't have any of that.
Right. You weren't in the color wars yet.
I wasn't in the color wars.
What one makes sense for you and your engineer brain?
Yep. And in my engineering brain, the premium thing was a servo driven machine.
All
right?
electric.
All electric, servo driven. And I didn't have a problem. Like everybody said, well, the nightmare is that nobody knows how to work on those things, and their service might not be up to par with rock service. So you should go with rock or whatever else. And I was like, I'm an engineer, dude. I can order these servos, no problem. Like I have all the connections still, right? Like I can call my buddy and have him be in there, and we can have it repaired in a little bit.
Not most people getting into screen printing and buying an auto press have that. So.
Correct. So that was my mentality in that. So I bought a 7-8 Anatol Volt, got that thing up and running. And then we moved. And so I had to figure out how to take it apart, and being an engineer, I was like, let's do this. And so I was able to take that whole thing apart, ship it out of there, move it to a new facility, put it back together. Didn't need to call Anatol to do any of that. And then we grew and bought a 14 station. Same thing.
Is the 14 a volt technically too? Is it the same thing, just bigger?
Yep. It's just a big volt. Yeah.
The funny thing is my pick, there was a while ago, we did like what would be your first auto if you could do it all over again? And I said volt. Yeah. Because the thing with the volt that I like is no air compressors. So if you're in your garage, you could have sneakily did the volt in your garage at home, because it wouldn't have been loud.
You wouldn't have never heard it. Yeah.
You would have never known that it was in there. Yep. So that was the thing, is like no air compressor. It's all electric. And the best part about it is if you're printing by yourself in your garage, it has that extra head that comes down.
Right. Yep.
So you can turn your unload station into another head.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
And then if you have a big job that you need an unloader, you lift the head up, and then you have an unload station.
Yeah.
So I was like, this press is made for fucking, like,
it is
your first press. Like,
it is. And that's where I push it. But like, even when we had our open house at my shop for Anatol, this was in that shop that I moved to, the bigger shop. When we got all that in there, and I ended up painting my floors white and doing some things to kind of made social media way more attractive. I was trying to build out my dream shop.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed was, like I could have people there and walk customers through all the time. And because it was so quiet, like we could have conversations right at the machine.
Yeah.
And it just hums along, right? Like there's no noise. And so we ended up, after I started doing that and I ordered my second machine, I was like, hey, and that's all I see. You guys are doing this thing where you're going to other shops. How about me? And then we ended up doing that with Golden Press and a couple other shops came.
Yeah, I remember it. How did it go?
Joined us. 90 shops signed up. There was a hurricane that came through like the southern part of the country, like that, or it was a hurricane. It was like some massive storm that came through.
Tropical storm.
drop something that came through and hurt the attendance a little bit. Because it was like on a Thursday night when people were supposed to be coming in. But we had people from Texas there. We had people from Canada. It was pretty cool to see that we ended up being a destination shop for the East Coast,
Right.
For that event. And it was a 2-day event. Went really well. I parlayed some networking things. I was in BNI at the time. So I did a networking event there at the same time. So I kind of used that same facility for both of those things and did printing for them and kind of built out both sides of the networking side there. And it was cool. We had a bunch. I was like, told Anatole, I'm like, I do not want to sell machines. I do not PMI. You can come in. I don't want to sell tape. Blue Ridge, you can come in. I don't want to sell screen products. Like, I don't want to sell. Right. I don't want this to be a selling thing. People are going to come in here. I want them to be educated. Mm-hmm. So like Corey from Golden Press did like an art class. We did, Nikki came down and from Cotton Street and talked a little bit. There was some people. It was cool, man. We had some shops from all over the place come in. Dennis from All Star came there. There's a ton of people.
It's kind of nice to get into screen printing, learn what you can, and then get to a point where you can kind of share the wealth a little bit and be like, hey, come to my place, learn about the press. I'm going to bring in all these, industry people to just have and sit and talk to. It's great for that kind of thing.
No, it is. Yeah. And I think that's the first year I went to, it was the first year I went to ISS, and that's where I met you and Stampinator and all those guys.
I don't remember. I was trying to remember exactly how it went down, but I feel like one of the first times I met you, didn't we like hop into a random vehicle? And it was rough. I don't remember what happened, but I just remember, was it like me and Marcotte were like screaming shit out the windows?
Yeah, it was you, Marcotte, and me. And what it was Christie's award ceremony was in Atlanta, and they were like, we're all going on the rock bus. And I'm like, I'm not going on the rock bus. So I called an Uber, and we got a Uber Black showed up, and I'm like, Dylan,
there's room. Yeah,
there's room. So so you guys hopped. You were like, I'm going with you. So we avoided the rock bus, and then ended up at a jazz club.
I feel like we were talking shit to the Uber driver.
We were totally talking shit to the Uber driver. Yeah, and he was cracking up.
Yeah, he was loving it. He was all for it.
Yeah.
And me and Matt are like two of the crudest humans alive, so we just played into it hard.
It was so crude the whole time, and I'm up next to him. You're in the back seat. You guys are in the back seat. I'm up next to him. Like, oh my god. That was a blast. Yeah, and the whole jazz club and then that whole thing. Yeah, there was that, and I think I met you at ISS too, but it was just more of like a random, like you were talking to somebody else, and I was there.
Yeah, that's not real. That doesn't count. You got to get the Uber Black driver.
That's right.
Excursion to really get to know somebody.
Yeah, and then bopping around at the S&S thing in Chicago with that was the guy I was there with, and my wife was there too. But my friend got so shit faced, and we had to leave there because he was like hitting on every girl in the place, and it was like embarrassing. And I'm like, bro, you got to go, man. And so like we get out there, and he's in the Uber. Speaking of Uber, we're on the way back to the hotel, and he just starts projectile puking out
the window,
out to the Uber driver's window, and it's all over his car. And I contracted under me, so I'm like,
you're getting a 1 star for sure.
I'm like, I'm getting screwed here. So we got him out, and I'm like, I'm cleaning it up. Don't worry. Like, got the bellhop involved. I'm like, I got to clean this guy up. So yeah. But anyways, yeah.
That's rugged. So anyway, you kind of also, this is where your story kind of gets interesting in my opinion. I mean, not that the other stuff wasn't interesting, but you kind of have you got into screen printing, started a shop, on and on. But the thing that kind of is interesting for other printers is the fact that you decided to merge with another shop, and then immediately as that was happening, another opportunity came into place.
So how that happened was I was approached. So this whole podcast thing for us, and then it had a lot to do with ISS too. We would go to these events and realize that the screen printers were just all buddies. But it wasn't that case in my local city. Like we were like the worst enemies, it seemed like, and I was like,
it's hard locally. Like even for me, like there's not a lot of shops around really, especially ones that are like my size, but there's all these like mid to, little ones that we don't really talk locally that much.
Right.
I feel like it's like this weird thing of like, you're going to take my brother's uncle's softball team. And I'm like, dude, I don't give a fuck about that at all. Like, I just want to hang.
There's 19 plumbers in Rock Hill. Like, I don't need all 19 of them. You can have, I'll take 4, like I don't need all those guys.
I'll take
like
18. You can have 1. Like, it's
right.
fine.
Yeah. So like, but they fight over the schools and everything else. And it was like, and so like, I was like, I'm going to make it a point to get out and just try to force some relationships a little bit. And so like this one woman was like, hey, I'm selling my number press. I was like, all right, I'd like to go see it. So I went over there and seeing it, and she showed me her number press, and I'm in this shop, and I'm like, and she goes, so what do you think? And I go, I don't want anything to do with this number press. I just wanted to meet you, and I was like,
hey, I hate to tell you this, Jeremy, but that's creepy as fuck, right?
Yeah, right. That's true.
I'm going to lure myself into your shop where I'm not interested at all.
Well, I was like, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No.
All right, continue.
Every breath you take.
Yeah.
So, I did. So I did that, and she, we kind of hit it off as far as like, being able to talk about stuff. And I was like,
you became buddies.
And so she approached me at some point, and she was like, hey, we got bought out. I'm the original owner. I'm just trying to help these people. We got bought out by this guy, and he's running it into the ground. Would you be, he's going to sell it. Would you be interested, for the sake of my employees, the employees I hired and these customers that I went out and got myself? I'd hate for this place to die. He's not making payroll. He's not doing all this stuff. And I was like, I could look at your books. And we looked at their books for about 3 months, and lawyers involved and accountants and everything.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit? Like, I don't want to go super deep into it, but what do you do when you look at someo's books? Like,
profit and loss?
What are you really looking for? We're
looking for like profit and loss over like 3 years span. Like, hey, are you growing? Where are you growing? Are you spending money well? Is there anything in there that's like, worth, like, what's your top customers? We really can't, like, we couldn't get into the nitty gritty because we signed an NDA, like to be able to do anything with their customer base. But like, is there like these months where you're just banging out stuff?
I would look at that. Customers. I would look at that as, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I've never done this before, but I would look at stuff like that and be like, this is what I could do with this. Like, I don't necessarily want to see how they spent their money or how they did whatever. I would be more interested in what kind of customer is this and what kind of revenue are they bringing in? Like, other than that, I don't really give a shit what anything else is, because I'm like, this is what I could do for them. Like, if I was to take over these people, this is what I could achieve. Because I feel like if you're walking into a business who's like, save me, obviously they weren't doing things.
Yeah. And so that's what we found out in the books, and so like my buddy again from AG Composites, he goes, whatever you do, don't buy that business. They're going to come to you anyways. Like, you're right there. You know way too much. Don't buy it.
That's exactly what I went through with the person across the street.
Yeah. And I was like, cool. Good advice. I'll write it out. And so I was writing it out, and she would come to me and she goes, hey, how about this? How about that? How about this? How about that? And then one night she called me, Dylan, and she's like, and I was at a concert, and we were sitting outside, and she goes, you will never fucking believe this. I am so pissed. And I was like, what? And she goes, he took his life this afternoon. Like, and I go, oh my, like, I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. But you're pissed. And she's like, yeah, because he said he was on his way with payroll, and that there was vendors at the door, like, waiting for payments and stuff. And like, these employees went to work today thinking they were going to get paid. And he took his life, and what a cop out, and just kind of saying these things. And I'm like, oh my God, like what, first of all, like, I hate that happened.
Yeah.
And it sent me down a different road. Like my mindset went dark.
The hard part with that, and not to get too gross or whatever deep into it, is just like, we've all been in that situation where like business is rough or life is rough, and like all these things are happening at the same time, and you're just like, I literally don't right now see a way out of this. And I think that's where people go in that harder direction, is like they can't ride it out any longer.
Yeah. And the dude had kids and a family and other businesses. And so my whole thing in that, my whole takeaway from that is like, you own your business doesn't own you. If it gets any screen printer out there, anybody who's running a business, if you get to the point where you feel like the business is owning you, you've lost what it, the love of what it is you're doing.
You need to reevaluate a little bit.
Reevaluate. Yeah. Like you're not having fun anymore. It's time to talk to somebody, and whatever you do, like, please talk to somebody. Don't just take matters in your own hands and think that you're trapped. So that happens. And I had already been talking with Christy, because we thought, hey, that's not going to go through, and we'll just kind of sit and wait. And Christy was like trying to get out, and this. And so she's like, I was like, what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm going to go into retail. I'll just do it on the weekends. And I'm like, wait, you're going to quit like doing it during the week, and you're going to work on the weekends? Like, that's not going to not going to be satisfied. That's going to suck. I go, we were doing the podcast together and everything. And I said, what do you really want to do? And she goes, I just want to do sales. Like, I just want to do sales for somebody. And
that was the discussion that me and her had, because me and her were on the Gildan board together, and we had, a bunch of discussions about what she wanted to do, because at that point she was trying to make it all work and doing all the things. But I think in her heart of hearts, she was just like you said, I just want to do the sales part. Like, I don't necessarily want to worry about the manufacturing part.
And I go, would you ever how about you come work for me? And she's like, oh, I could do that, and I could do sales for you, but like, it would just crush me to not have that ownership anymore, because, she had their shops and everything. Right. It was like a baby. She grew it the same time I grew it. Right. Like, so, and I got that. And so I talked to Jill and my wife, and I'm like, like, I'm not all in on this thing to where like I can't give a little bit of it away, and so we started talking about what made sense. And Jill's like, well, I want to come aboard too. And so I was like, well, that would make it better. Like, we would still be able to feel like we have a majority of the company. We weren't splitting it 50-50. Right.
Let me ask you this, and you can not answer if you don't want to, but were you seeing this as an opportunity where you knew you didn't necessarily excel at those departments that your wife and Christy were?
My wife was all about finances, and she's really good at books and everything. When you're a nurse, you got to be able to take notes and you got to be super critical about everything and very analytical.
Hopefully. That's a kind of nurse I would want.
Yeah. You got to be on top of it. Right. So she was on top of it all the time, but she didn't do like doing sales, and I was terrible at sales. Like, I was lucky I had customers. And we really didn't invest in that. Like, I had some employees, the girls I hired were just,
order takers.
They were order takers. That's all they were.
Yep. 100%.
And they no vision for anything other than whatever walks through the door, or who calls on the phone. And so, so I did. So I was like, Christy, this seems perfect for me, and then, we kind of got together and worked out a deal. And I said, I'll give you some ownership, and let's make sure we do our due diligence and all of that. And so we did. And we decided to do that within like a week. And then, so she's like, I'm starting on Monday. And that dude took his life on Tuesday. So we basically moved her shop in over the weekend.
Yeah.
and took on her entire customer base and like had moved all the.
You talking about Christy or the other lady?
Christy, right?
Okay.
Christy. So we moved.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's getting confusing now because you got two things
Christy
going on.
in. I know we had two things going on, and Christy moved in, and now she's starting Monday, and this dude took his life on Tuesday, and then that woman calls me up at the concert, and she's like, "My employees are going to work tomorrow for free because they don't want those jobs to like they don't want to. So they don't want to hurt.
How does that work? Because it seems way more complicated now that the owner of the company died. It's got to be like this long process of.
You would think so, right? You would think so, but the wife of that guy was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear anything about it. And the landlord was so backfilled in rent. Like he did not get rent for so long. He's like, I'm closing the doors at the end of this week. And
right. Like the landlord was fed up at that point. Yeah.
The landlord was like, whatever you don't get out, I'm locking it up and we're going to go to court, And I was like, okay, that's going to go crazy. But these employees and these customers have, and the woman, thankfully the woman built the software. The original owner built the software for invoicing. So she built her own invoicing software and she was trying to sell it. So she had access to all of it. Right. So she's like, I want to do right by these customers. Do you think you can bring my employees there on second shift? And I was like, sure. So let's figure it out. And so I brought them in basically on.
See, that's the craziest part for me is you didn't, like with Christy, you had no employees to pull in. Like you just pulled her in as a salesperson. Now you're like, all right, I'm buying this other business, which to me, if it was me here, I would just take the equipment and the orders. I wouldn't take the employees. I mean,
I didn't buy it.
On circumstance.
That's the thing is I didn't buy it. She just asked me for help at that point. I was never going to buy it. I told her, I was like, I can't buy it, So
did you buy it or you just consumed it?
I just consumed it. Yeah. It was the craziest thing. It was within a couple weeks. Like I said, their employees were over at my shop working second shift or doing whatever to get those orders out. Well, then those orders were like sitting, like those people were like, thank you so much for rescuing my job, blah, blah, blah. And then they became our customers. Right. And then we slowly hired a couple of their employees. Like there was people they had a printer there that's like 30 years in printing. And I'm like, this dude's at my computer in my office signing up for unemployment because like he's. So
you didn't necessarily hire all those employees. You just let them use the facility to finish off what they felt they needed to do.
Well, then I basically said, if you're
cherry picked at that point, you're like, you're a good one. You're a good one. You can fill out the unemployment in the office.
I took the A team from them. So I ended up with 8 extra. So they had like 30 employees. They were a big shop. I ended up with eight of them. And a lot of them, like a lot of my current employees, these guys printed circles around them. Like I had a manual guy come in and the girl that was printing manual out back, we were just doing small orders of manual, but that's all she's ever done. She was really good at it. So I was like, Andrew, yeah, you can come in and print, and just rattle off these few jobs too, and I'll pay you. And he's like, cool. Paid him cash and he did it. And he freaking did it. Like he ran circles around that girl and she's like, oh shit. Like my job's in jeopardy. Like, and I started to see like what they could do versus what my employees were doing. And I thought I was running good and they were killing our employees as far as like the quality and the output and the, this efficiency and everything else. So
that's awesome.
So we took a very unfortunate circumstance through a very unfortunate circumstance. We gained, I hate to say I took advantage of it, but I gained.
I don't think you did.
I tried to save them, a little bit.
I think from hearing the story, you basically did everything you could have done. Like in reality, like you can't just like be like, oh, I'm going to buy this business and I'm going to keep all these employees. I'm going to do like, it just doesn't make sense. Like it's not, obviously the business failed and didn't make enough money with what it had. So why would you bring that in and take on the enormous challenge of that? But my question is, I've only ever hired maybe the max at one time is like 2 people. Because usually when you're hiring, you're like, oh, I need one person for this position. I need another one in 6 months. I need whatever. I think I did 2 fresh ones at a time once.
Yeah.
What the hell do you do when you do 8? Like, did you have enough revenue from the orders from that place to pay for those people?
And that's the only reason I did it. That's the only reason I did it, because like as soon as we got that shop, we hired on that old owner as a outside salesperson. So she knew all the people. She knew all the.
That was a smart move right off the bat. Yeah.
So I hired her immediately, and I was like, listen, because she was already working for this guy, like after she had sold the business, so she didn't want to get out. And I was like, can you come in and at least finish out the year with us? And so Christy brought her customers over, which were corporate. There were a lot of handheld corporate customers. And then she had just like everything else that I didn't have.
She had the other 14 plumbers.
She had the other 14 plumbers and everybody else. Right. And so it was like, you bring them in, and this was October, like you're slammed September, October, November, at least I am, like that's where our busy season is. And so like, that was like like that October was insane for us. Like
I can imagine, dude.
The bank was like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Like, do you need some money? And I was like, geez, you've never reached out to me before. So yeah, we literally.
I know. It's funny because I know that feeling. We had that like 2 years ago or whatever, where the bank's like, oh, we want to set up a meeting. And so I was like, the bank never wants to talk to me unless they owe them something. And then they came and they were like, well, we want to offer you this line of credit. We want to give you this. We want to give you this. And I was like, what the hell?
Have you ever thought of money markets?
Yeah, I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, so no, that was
gotta be crazy though. Like, it has to be
insane.
I think the fun part of it is you have that itch because of all these things you were trying to do when you were an engineer, to like have that entrepreneurial spirit of like, I want to start this or start this or start this. And the discussion I've been having recently is like, I'm at a point in this business where it's where I want it to be. Like, like I have the presses, I have the employees, I have all the things here to do its thing. And I'm running out of that itch of like, I want to start a new project that keeps me occupied and keeps my brain running and whatever. So like for me this year is going to be embroidery. Like I'm going to bring embroidery in. I can't imagine the fucking rush of like shit you got from being like, I'm getting 2 businesses and 8 new employees and I'm getting all the X amount of customers without necessarily trying.
Yeah.
That has to be awesome.
It was awesome, but then it was
also then it goes downhill if you're like,
yeah.
So like, give me the downhill.
What's next year going to look like? Well, all right. So the biggest takeaway there is that's right when Christy got into Sales Inc. a little bit. And so we knew that she was going to get it, and she was like going to try to drive business into January more than we ever have before. And we literally never missed a beat from.
You're talking this January, like
this past 2024. So this was, this was 2023 when we merged and got that extra thing, October 2023. She got into sales, that Sales Inc. cohort. And then like, they were like, you should focus on not taking a break in January. You should be backloading to January. Right. So like, so she started getting that itch, which was great because we never done that before. And so she's backloading into January and everything. And we're going. And we got to the point in about February where we weren't skipping a beat. We didn't slow down. And we were like, oh shit, we got 16 employees and not enough room. You said embroidery, you're going to bring in embroidery. I had to move embroidery out into the shop because we needed room for employees and offices and things for other people. And like, I just didn't have the facility for it. And we brought in an auto reclaim system, and I didn't even have the water like to really be successful with that. Like I was actually putting a strain on the machine. I'm like, I gotta move. Like, so then we're looking for a place to move in February, right? Like, so did all this stuff. And then I just painted the floors. I just epoxied the floors like 2 years ago. Like I did all this stuff, and then the shit went to nuts, and I had to go now. All right, let's figure this out. So we ended up looking and moving. So one thing I don't recommend One is to inherit a business and merge a business and then
move.
decide to move. Like, you're just like, it's just chaos.
You need time to process that and like figure out what's actually happening and what's what.
Because you don't even know, like, relationships wise, I was a friend with Christy, but like I never was a business partner with Christy.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know how she did business. Like, my wife didn't know how she did business. You know, she didn't know how my wife did business and how I did business. So it was a shock to her system, and it was a shock to our system to try to make those things work. Mm-hmm. Right.
And then to be put under a stressful situation of
like moving.
Yeah.
And that whole other thing with the extra employees and everything else, it was like not what she signed up for, but we were dealing with it. And then, you know,
I mean, it is nice to have to go through all of that all at once, but now you have 3 owners equally invested to, like, you could have spearheaded one project, she could have done another, and so on. Like, if you had to do all that by yourself, it'd be a different story.
But and the legalities of everything. So, like, you know, it took 6 months to get it legally set up to actually be a partnership, because now you got to go through all of these life insurance things and what's going to pay for the business, and that whole process in itself is insane. Like, it's not just sign a piece of paper and at the first of the year you guys are partners.
Yeah.
Like, there's all this, what happens if you go crazy, if you flip your shit, if you die, what happens, you know, to the company, who gets the shares, who's got the votes, who does all that. It's wow.
I just started last year, like halfway through the year, like doing my will, and like, it's so complicated when you own the business, because they're like, who's going to take over this, and your kids are going to get things at age 30, and like all these other, it's just like, it's this whole mess that I'm like, I stopped. I got like halfway through it and I was like, I need 6 months to like not think about this, and I'll come back.
My lawyer told me, he's like, once we were signing this deal, he's like, all right, you signed the deal. Now, none of you can go in the same car together. You can't go on vacation together. You can't hop on the same airplane. You can't do, you know, like, he was like giving us all the things that we never even thought of. And I'm sitting there going, like, how did I become an adult all of a sudden? Like, this adulting thing is fucking insane.
This just sucks.
It sucks. It's so bad. But we did that. We have the coolest name for an LLC. The 3 of us have, we're Print Homies LLC.
Is that really?
We were like, what do you want to be called? And I'm like, what do you mean? And it's like, you got to come up with a new LLC for your business. And I'm like, looked at Chrissy, I'm like, Print Homies? She goes, is Print Homies LLC available? And he's like, yes, it is. I'm like, boom. Shit. So we're Print Homies LLC, but no. So ownership wise, I think you would ask Christy 6 months ago, how it was going. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, how it was going, you know, after the move and the stress and all that stuff, a month in after the move, I think we were like, what the hell did we do? Like, it's, right. You go through all those stressful times, and it's like all those emotions. It's like being fresh in a marriage without knowing the person. Like, it's when shit gets real, the emotions come out and everything comes out, and we had to work through things. I mean, like, we really had to sit down.
You got thrown in the pool to learn how to swim, basically.
We got thrown in the pool to learn how to swim, and we both went through hard times, and there was a lot of apologies, and there was a lot of swallowing your pride and all that stuff. So, because, you know, you go from a single owner where it's your kingdom, mm-hmm. to where now it's everything is also, like, a portion of everything you have is also somebody else's, and they are equally invested, and they have a say, right? And it's, you know, and, you know, Christy, I mean, she's great. Like, she's super bubbly and happy all the time and everything, but she's not always like that, you know?
And then the lights go out and the red lights come on.
Yeah. And so, but same with me. Like, I think you can meet me and go, hey, that dude's pretty cool, or not. That dude's a douche. And then see the other side of me and go, actually, he's pretty cool, or actually he really is a douche. But yeah, I think it's with anybody. Like, they can put on a face and not say she put on a face, but like, we could put on a face as human beings and then really go through a hard time. And then, like, the real
character comes out.
Character comes out. And I think what we learned from that whole experience, because obviously we're still together, is that, you know, maybe hindsight, we should have got to know each other. We should have worked together a little bit more. So that
You could have
transition.
you could have taken her on as like a freelancer for 6 months a year or something.
And I don't know if she would have did that or not, but like, I think it's in the end, it was like, it's still 100%. There are no regrets. Like 100%, it was the right thing to do. We just had no idea what we were in for in doing it. Right. Like,
right.
And so, well,
business wise, I know you guys worked it out, like feelings wise and partner wise, but like, how is from when this whole merger thing and moving thing till now, are you like honestly feeling good about the business side of things, not necessarily the partnership thing? Like,
no, absolutely.
Taking on those businesses, the employees, it's all working well.
Yeah. I mean, you start to do, like, you grow up as a business, right? Like, we're doing things that we each never did in our own businesses before. So like, I feel really good about our business because we've taken so many leaps forward, right? Like, we invested in the print profit recently, and that's just another leap forward for us, right? Like it's something that's going to take us to the next level. We both feel that way, but investing in a business coach, doing the things that we needed to do to get to where we could be and get on different paths and learn. We find ourselves, I know we talked about the fact that I've started doing things in Monday more. I think you get to a point in your business where you start to grow out of things.
You have to be an adult again.
And you start to grow out of things, like even software that you're using. Like we started, like everybody started, like either with Excel sheets, and then we did some Trello stuff. And then I tried out the different softwares and eventually went to Printavo, and she went to Printavo, and we kind of merged businesses, and merging Printavo accounts is not easy. And then moving forward with that, like we start to reach these milestones where like it's becoming harder and harder to manage production in Printavo, or it's becoming harder and harder to manage art, because I want to do so much more. Like I'm managing 8 employees now in production. I need to do so much more. I started doing that stuff, and you eventually grow out of stuff. I think
the smart thing though too is we had a podcast a little while ago with Angie, and we did the Print Profit guy with John.
Yeah.
And I think more and more the trend, I mean, at least for me, because I'm in it and hearing about it, is it's okay to bring in consultants or do these classes or do these, group activities to kind of not necessarily skip the line, but like get your shit in order.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were saying even before, like you thought your print shop was like efficient and humming and flowing. And then you bring in these fucking 8 wild cards and they're crushing it.
Yeah. And then you go listen to the 2-second lean guy at Print Hustlers, and you're like, holy shit. Like oh yeah. Like I don't have Kanban cards on everything. And you're like, I'm a mess. I'm a total mess. Like, hey, how many steps does it take to go find this screen table?
That's how it is. I mean, that's how it is like on Instagram and stuff. That's why they say that shit's toxic, is because it's always the positive people posting positive shit. And it's like, you see, like every day I see stuff where some shop's doing this thing or trying this new ink or whatever. And you're like, fuck, like I haven't done that yet. I haven't tried that yet. I haven't, whatever. But it's also motivation. Like it makes you want to do that next thing. Cause if you didn't, you would just be stagnant in the old ways.
You know what you need to do is, I think this is the best recommendation I can give is, like, if you start to feel stagnant, is go out and see another shop do it. Like, get out,
definitely.
Go out and see other shops. Right.
I had a friend who I talked to for, I don't know, like 7 years or something. Her and her husband were here last week, and I won't get into her whole situation, but like she manages a shop and runs it and all this other stuff. And she came here and I just did like a whole day, not like a tour, like a quick, like, oh, hey, nice to see you, show you around the shop. Like we did a whole day of just being here, like seeing every print, like going through registration, going through all these things on all this stuff on press and the dark room, and just sitting in the conference room and going through how we do business. And like, I could just see things in her brain being like, why didn't we do that? Or like, oh, we do it this way. And she would tell me something and I'd be like, oh, cool. That's awesome. Like we should do that. And it was just like a whole day of that. And I love the idea. And me and her were talking, and a lot of other people have thought this already, but it's like, she's like, well, why don't I send my production manager to you for a week, and then you send your production manager to me for a week, and like he'll teach my team what they don't know, and then my guy will teach you what he doesn't know, and it's just like I want to do that more now. I want to. It's like trading cards, like playing. You know, I just want to be like, oh, hey, who's in my friend's shop in this city or state, and just like let's just trade people all the time, and then we'll all accumulate this knowledge so quickly.
Yeah, I wish people had that thought process. I think a lot of people would be like, "No, you're just gonna steal my employee." Yeah,
no. I mean, I feel like really the cost of like if I did that with you and I was like, "Hey, like send Christy here, and it's the cost of a plane ticket, and I'll give her a place to stay, and then I'll send Bill to you, and then." Absolutely. You know, he teaches you guys something in production, and Christy teaches my guys something in sales. Really, we're not out anything other than the cost of travel.
No, you're right. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you're gaining something and I'm gaining something.
For sure. I'm
not like hiring a consultant to come in. We're trading services is all.
No, I get that. Yeah.
I don't know. It seems fun. So anyway, I'm happy all that worked out for you. I've always wanted to hear that story because it seemed like, I don't know, from the outside looking in, it seemed like
crazy, probably
a lot to take out. Like you look at something like that and you're like, oh my God, like I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Like, let's see how it goes. Yeah. But anyway, all that in, you're what, a year and a half, 2 years into that whole thing.
Last October.
And then you decided to start another business because you're a fucking psychopath.
Yeah. Yeah. That whole thing, like, I mean, things seem to be like good ideas at the time, you know, and then you get, you're like, man, this is a really good idea. I think, and then you go, oh shit, man, what did I do? You know, so a couple things. I went to the, go to ISS last year, everything's DTF, right? Like, and then I went to the, Apparel Decoration Summit, and there was a ton of people there that were like pushing DTF, and
well, they have a DTF Expo now.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so that whole crowd was there though. And so I went, and I kind of went with an open mind, but then at the same time, they showed us numbers like the SOTA report. I don't know if you heard of the SOTA report, the state of the apparel decoration. Blah, blah, blah. So, basically they were showing the trends that 50% of shops were, ended up going digital or however many percentage. And then this percentage grew in the next year and the percentage grew in the following year or whatever. And I'm like, man, the trend is going digital in a lot of ways. And it's getting better and better and better. We've banged that drum before, but I walked out of there going, this may be an opportunity to bring DTF in house. I'll just go look at my numbers. And I went and looked at my numbers and I was like, man, I'm spending, a couple grand in DTFs a month, right? That's more than a lease payment on a DTF machine. So I started talking about bringing it in. Well, it wasn't in our budget. And of course, when you have 3 owners, you got to all agree on these things. So I was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to bring it in house, but
it makes sense to bring it in my house.
It makes sense to bring it in my house. And Christy had, to be fair, Christy has a side business where her and her husband, Nate, are doing engraving. And so they're supplying all of our engraving and patches and all that stuff to Rock Hill Screen Printing. We buy direct from them. They're making it at home. They're selling to us. They're getting a second income and double the write-offs, right? And I'm like, I can do that too. And plus my son was like looking for an out. And I'm like, buddy, again, I'll invest in you again. We can try to get this thing going. And he was like, right from the get, he was like, I'm not going to tell you that I want it because I don't know if that's what I want to do. So, and
he learned the first time.
So I was like, all right, cool. Me and my wife decided it was a good idea still. We bought it. And I was like, you know what? I will get it ramped up, working, do all the things I need to do to get it going. And I'll sell the shops locally and I'll just keep it local. And then, you start to gain customers there. And I'm like, man, this makes really good money. I mean, it's like embroidery margins, it's like 3 cents a DT, 3 cents an inch or something, or 0.03. It's like it's stupid how cheap it is. And so I'm rattling off $90, $100, $250, $300, $700 rolls of this film. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pop it on. I'm going to go on TikTok. I'm going to go on all these different things. I'm going to build a really cool Shopify website, have the automatic builder and all that other shit. And I went that whole route and I built it all out and it started getting busy. And then I was like, what the hell am I doing? I don't want to print all night long.
Yeah.
Like,
It's starting to consume you now. It's not a little problem.
I don't want to come home and print. Like, I want to go. We do season tickets to a concert, to outdoor concert thing. You know, like I want to go to the concerts. I want to have fun. I want to go see Foo Fighters and stuff. I don't want to be, you know, tied down to
sitting in your garage huffing fucking powder fumes.
Powder. Oh my God, it's bad. So I killed the website. We got end of last year. I killed the website and just told the shops locally, I'll only print for you. So I have a couple of retail customers. Like I have Innova Disc Golf, who it's like the disc golf people here. It's the headquarters. So I'll do stuff for them. Like I do all their flags and stuff that they do and shirts and stuff. But yeah, so I was like, I got to dial that back. So it sits in my garage. I print maybe twice.
What did you go with?
3 times a week.
What printer did you go with?
I went with the big Mamaki.
Did you get that one from Blue Ridge?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And it made sense because it was local and I had local support.
Yeah.
Land is not
Aaron's
far
awesome
away.
too. So
yeah. Aaron's close. I was able to go up there same day to get inks if I needed to. Cause I did, you know, you learn all kinds of, you're just learning all over again. Right. Like,
yeah.
You want to be cheap about it, but then you're like, man, you need all these ink cartridges cause you fly through white ink, especially. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is that machine is a freaking champ. Like I've heard all these horror stories from Farrig and all these guys about like how they had to rebuild the print heads every 3 weeks or whatever and do all this stuff. That thing, that's like lock, sealed, and loaded. It's not like the dampers went bad, but I think they knew the dampers went bad when they sold it to me. They actually told me they were going to ship me new dampers. So they were ahead of the game. And so they came in and repaired the dampers, and I haven't had I can leave it. There's nightmares about people leaving them sit for more than a couple days and they start to dry out.
Print head's all fucked.
Wet cap and print head's all messed up. I can let that thing sit for 2 weeks.
There was, we spend a shitload of money on DTF and I still have zero interest in buying a machine just because of that. Like hearing from all these people, you know, that they basically need a full-time maintenance guy to run the things. And I've always stayed away from the digital stuff. Like basically anything printhead related, I'm like, I want nothing to do with. And that was honestly one of the main factors why we went with the laser in the dark room is because I don't have to deal with the printhead on the iMage or anything. But anyway, again, like I'm very comfortable with who I'm ordering things from for DTF. But there was a thing today that I got sent that basically was a post on the United States Postal Service website that said international service disruptions, suspension of inbound parcels from China and Hong Kong. So then a bunch of people now are saying like, cool, now I'm not going to be able to get my DTF from where I was ordering from. And I got thinking about that today. I'm like, well, the DTF I get from over there is FedEx. So like, is it going to go through the post office at all? Is it safe? Is it going through whatever? So, I mean, that might be a whole new thing now too, with like the tariffs and all this other stuff. Is like,
people buy.
You better get a warehouse for this DTF printer because you're going to be turning that website back on.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like I know that there's a potential to grow it, and I know that like it's not going to be like this boat anchor. Worst comes to worst, I'm still paying for it out of my personal funds, but like the advantages, I did the advantages this morning. Like you're getting multiple income streams, you're getting tax advantages, doubling the write-offs for both companies. You know, like there's all these things, you know, that you could take advantage of in doing that. The taxes are a big one. But like, I don't have to, like, all I got to do is make that lease payment. Like, and I do that anyways with just Rock Hill Screen Printing alone. So I don't have to go out and sell to anybody else. Right. Like, so it's just sitting there getting paid off. I could bring it in house and have my employees do it here, but then I'd have to bring it in as part of the business, or I could just bring it here, put it in an air conditioned room, and then I could just print on it. And then I could keep it separate still and just rent the space out. Yeah. You know, and all that. But you got to think of those things too, because of the partnership. Like,
You don't want to start stepping on toes and taking advantage of things.
I don't want to take advantage of things just because it was my,
which is 100% why I always say partnerships don't work, because it comes down to that character of like, is this person going to take advantage of the situation and whatever. And I'm glad you guys don't have that. Like, I'm glad your reaction to getting it out of your house and bring it to the shop was immediately, I could do it here after work myself, or I could put it in a room and rent it from myself.
Yeah.
Not, I'm just going to bring it here and do it because this is my fucking building.
And these are
blah, blah, blah. And it's mine and I'm going to do it, because that's taking advantage of the situation.
It is. And that would just that would come back and haunt you big time.
It shows back to what you were saying, that you're not a douche, Jeremy. You're a good human being.
Thank you.
I knew you needed that confirmation, so I'm bringing it back for you.
Yeah. But the other thing in the Apparel Summit that I did was I realized that there was a person there using Monday to do the flow of the production, right? And so I saw them do it, and getting into another shop, I said, where did you get that? And where did you get that? Who built that for you? And they said, oh, the guy at Sunday Cool did it. Have you ever heard of Sunday Cool?
Love Sunday Cool. Yeah. Good
yeah. Dude. So like, oh my God, such good dudes. So I called that guy, Austin, was the guy who built it for him. And he's like, if you ever want to come down. I'm like, my son's down there, my son's stationed in the Coast Guard down in Cortez, Florida. We're going to go down there in like 2 weeks. Can I stop by your shop? And he's like, yes. And so I set up the tour. I went in there. Have you ever been there?
I'm actually planning on going there in March. So
it's insane, dude. All right. So first of all, they started the same year I started. We
had them on the show. I've done the whole thing with them, but I hung out with them in Long Beach.
Block. They're not just a shop. They're a community.
Yeah. And they warehouse the blanks too. That's why they can get away with that 48-hour turnaround.
Yeah. Is it 48? Yeah, it's insane.
Whatever it is. It's
but dude, like this, I saw the fastest like loaders and unloaders I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm like, what, can I videotape you? And they're like, you can't post it on social media, and I was like, cool. I just want to show my employees.
I want this for myself.
I want to
back
show
to you being a creepy guy,
dude. I'm just like, hey, sweetie, what are you doing? Nothing. So I took some videos and I just showed the people and like the loaders and unloaders at the shop. And I'm like, look at how fast this dude's doing it. But then you start to see like, hey, they're not only setting up one press for one job like we're doing, they're setting up one press for 3 jobs and just stacking the shirts and dividing them with a slice of cardboard. Go. Like they're freaking like it's like insane. So I was like, all right, how does this work for me? And I ended up hiring the guy to build out the Monday board for me. And literally, once we got using it, like our production just went like sales can't keep up. There's people at the door. My staging person is at the door when UPS shows up there wanting to put the thing on the cart because the screens are already burnt and ready to go. Production's waiting on it. Like that's how like nothing's sitting on the shelf. We eliminated shelves. We don't even need to put things in boxes.
We're so good. We got rid of shelves.
That's right. what we did.
Bold.
Yeah. What we did is just took, the whole thing is like, why there was too many touches. Like they were like, it was just way too many touches. So like did the lean manufacturing, did the Monday, did the different things, saw his processes. So I learned from another shop. So that's like awesome. any opportunity to get out to see another shop.
Yeah, I definitely recommend that. Yeah. The whole Monday thing is, it's so weird for me to talk about this because I'm known for like using sticky notes and whatever, but that's how my shop works and that's how the culture is here. And that's how everything, like I'm good, especially with having Hannah here last week. And it was like the confirmation from her, like how good the flow is with things. And I was like, all right, like I am doing what I want to do, but like for you trying to grow and do all those other things, and I could probably benefit from like the Monday stuff as well. And, Allison,
she's really
good at Monday too. I kind of want to get her and kind of go through stuff with her. But it's crazy some of the stuff you can do and some of the numbers you can get and the data and everything.
Yeah. And like I mean, hats off to you. I mean, you don't use Printavo, right?
Nope.
Yeah. So you you got the you're not sucked into that. I hate to say sucked.
I think
it's like
what I've learned.
You go there, it's like hard to get out of, and you try to basically do band-aids to fix processes.
What I've learned through it is there are a couple things in Bravo that would benefit me, and a lot of it is just the automation side of it, where it's sending customers notes and whatever. But the thing is when I've talked to people about Bravo, and Matt came and kind of helped try to get me involved with it, is I do one thing. We screen print t-shirts. I don't have like a digital department, an embroidery department, and a this department and whatever, where Printavo would work well to keep everything separated and keep things like organized with all that. Like I literally have one process, and that's why our system works really, really well. And it's super efficient and it's clean and clear. Is they fucking take a screen printing order. It gets paid because we get paid up front. We take the payment, we add it to the schedule. We have the check marks on the schedule of are the SEPs done? Is it burned? Is it, the shirts here? Like we have all that on the schedule, and we have the notes and whatever we need. We print the job, we ship the job.
Yeah.
Like I don't need a system.
Yeah. You probably don't
tell me what to do.
You don't have walk-in customers either, right? So
I have barely any walk-in customers, but again, it's like we get everything through email. They go to FreshBooks, they make the invoice, they send it off with the mock-up approval and everything. They pay up front, and then from then it's bing bang boom, on our calendar, and then it goes out. Like that's it. I don't need this crazy system that can. That's the problem. I look at things like that with Printavo or any of these other ones. I'm like, this system can do 40, 50 things. I need it to do one.
Yeah.
So I'm paying for a monthly fee of a thing where I'm using one service out of 40.
Yeah. I don't need it. I had that software. I had a software like that in engineering that was like made for AT&T, and I didn't need AT&T software. I needed something really simple.
And again, nothing against Printavo. Like I love the dudes, love what it does, all these things. I'm just saying for me personally, I took a look at it and I'm like, I could get this. Like I could use it 100%. Yeah. It's just, it's like what's broke. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, and I've been using the same system I'm using right now for 15 years. Like, and I'm not that guy in the garage still using Corel and saying Corel's amazing. I'm saying this shit's working. Like it's actually good. Yeah. So, again, going off on a tangent on that.
I agree. I agree 100%. If don't break what's not broken.
Let's just don't fix what's not broken. That's going to be the quote of the episode, is just jumbling that one of the oldest sayings ever.
Yeah.
So anyway, things are good. You guys are happy now. You're looking forward to 2025.
Yeah. So
everything's humming again.
So you went to ISS. Did you? So we decided at the end of last year, I was like, hey, Christy, you know, she's like, I don't think we should go to ISS. It's just like, it's a lot of money. We don't know where it's going to end up, the election, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And I was like, cool. Here's my challenge. Let's get ready for 2025. Let's do an owner's retreat.
Yeah.
It's like, what is that? Like, what's that going to consist of? And I was like, I don't know. Do me a favor. The three owners got together. I'm like, find a place that's local that we can get out of the shop. We can't be at the shop. We got to make a dedicated effort to not be in the shop. Do one 2 hours away, do one like 4 to 6 hours away that we can drive to.
And then do Mexico.
And then do freaking Blue Sky. Right. And then as soon as we saw the price of Blue Sky, which was like actually less than going to ISS, we were like, all inclusive it is, baby. So we went to Mexico, but the purpose was to walk through the entire 2024, what was good, what was bad, and then to have a plan for 2025. Well, we decided to have the 2024 meeting before we went, and I'm so glad we did, because what we thought was going to be an hour turned into 6 hours of us basically picking apart our entire business. I do want to say that to that point, I mean, my managers are my best friends, like my lifelong best friends. So it's an excuse to say, hey, we're going to go to Vegas for 3 days or something. Yeah.
But in all reality, the road trip to the airport and then the plane ride and then we fuck around in Vegas. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, we do stupid shit. But the areas where you're at a restaurant and you're sitting down waiting for your food, we get so much shit done.
Yeah.
And planning of employees or what we're going to do in a department or, you know, how we're going to streamline this or whatever in those moments that, yeah, it's a fucking guy's trip and we went and had fun.
Oh,
But we
yeah.
got so much stuff done in our brains about what we're going to do in the shop during that time.
Yeah.
So the same thing for you. I'm sure you guys had fun and relaxed and whatever, but you did get a lot done.
We worked from 9 a.m. till noon every day. That we were there, but like we knew at noon, like it's on till whenever till it's not, so, so, and then all inclusive, I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
There's so
Seriously.
much shit to do. So, and it's so fun. It was paradise, but we did get a lot done. I said, if we're going to do it, if we're going to spend the money, if we're going to do it, let's do this and actually get it done. So it was the best decision we've ever made. I 100% recommend it. And I would definitely do it again. I'm probably never going to go on a cruise again because of that. It's the first time ever in all inclusive, and it was 10 times better than a cruise. But
I don't know. I just did a cruise for the first time and I loved it.
Yeah. Have you been in all inclusive or to an all inclusive?
No, not like just going to one specific spot, like a Sandals or something and staying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't done that.
Everything is included. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the cruise is like that too.
It is.
The thing with the cruise that we did was Virgin, so it was just adults.
Oh yeah.
So there wasn't like crazy kids running around or anything.
So that's the one place that I would say is probably the same as an all inclusive is Virgin.
Yeah.
Because it is all included.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it if it was a bunch of bullshit.
Was it fun?
So anyway, it was amazing. And we went to Mexico and we saw like the Mayan temples and like did all that stuff. So it was great. Yeah, it was awesome. So anyway, I asked you if you had any shop hacks, and I asked you like a half hour before we got on. So I'm not gonna hold my breath that you got something amazing.
Okay, so it's not necessarily shop hacks in the sense that it's stuff that you would do out like on the floor.
And I want to encourage that for future guests or listeners that I am very interested in shop hacks that are just like business related or, sales related or, it could be a tool, but like anything that is improving our lives in this industry is considered a shop hack for me.
Sure. So I'll go back to my days in coaching and dealing with some inner city kids playing football and trying to speak to kids that are having really rough lives. Their lifestyles are bad. Their parents' situations are bad. They're just going through, their circumstances suck. Yeah. And you're trying to motivate them to get them to do something. And so like one of the things I came up with right away, and it's because other coaches, football coaches were doing it too, is like I instituted a core value system. So like the core values, it doesn't matter if it's an athletic team, you could have it for a company. Rock Hill Screen Printing has core values. The best part about having core values is that whatever you create it with your employees and you all agree on it. And then those are the things you hold your employees accountable to. Yeah. So that nothing becomes personal anymore. Hey, you write all your job descriptions, you write all of your, anything that your processes and everything around your core values so that when the screen guys sucking up the joint for 2 weeks straight, you can just go, hey, are you
living up to these core values?
Agreed that you were going to live up to these core values. And I mean, can you say that you're doing that with this attitude you have and the fact that blah, blah, blah. And he would say, no, like, no, I agree. I'm not doing that. Okay. Well, it has to change because if you're not living up to them, then what are we doing? Right. This isn't personal. You're just not meeting your end of the deal.
I love that you brought this up because it's literally something I'm dealing with right now of my last 2 years where, okay, we're finally going to grow up and we're going to have job descriptions and all these things and whatever. And I just did that for a while. Yeah. And it was cool because I was like, all right, we sat people down. We actually let some people go. We got a core team. Like basically last year we had a skeleton crew, like almost all year. We were like, we're not hiring anybody this year. We're just going to go with who we have. We're going to actually see what's doable with this team. And then we sat everybody down and we did the whole, like I said, job description. This is what we're expecting of you. These people get raises. These people, let's move stuff around. But now I'm realizing I went through something, I don't know, like whatever, like a month or two ago, where Christina actually said, like, do you guys have core values? And when I hear core values, I kind of get that like cringe of like, you mean like I need to put like fucking live, laugh, love on the wall? Like, what do you like? No, or like we all love quality and we all love whatever. And it's like, that's what I think of when I think core values. But to hear you now saying it the way you're saying it is like, no, let's sit. Like, I don't want to come up with them. I don't want to just come up with some random jargon that's like, oh, we're all about this. I do think it's a good idea to sit down with everybody and be like, what do you think it is that we do here? Yeah. Like, what do you want to be proud of that we're doing here? And then come up with these core values and then again, agree on them like you're saying. And then I love the idea of bringing them in and letting them fire themselves if that's what needs to happen.
Basically what you're doing.
Right. Because I love that it's not on me.
Right.
Because then it's my opinion. Like if somebody comes to my office and I'm like, you're not doing this, you have a bad attitude, you have this and this. And it's like, that's your opinion, man. You know, like to quote the dude, like, it is my opinion. But if I have like things written out of like our core value was that you're going to fucking, you know, be here on time and put in all your effort. And obviously you're not.
Right.
Then
a teammate. You're just being a good teammate at that point. Like, are you letting your other coworkers down by you not being here all the time?
Right.
Like, it's just that you kind of word those things around those things, right? Like to say, you know, like, yes, we do have like 5-star customer service because that's Christy wants 5-star customer service every single time. Like creative problem solving.
Would have been better if she said like 3.5.
3.5-star customer
like,
service.
let's just make this our goal.
Let's try to be mediocre at best.
Yeah.
So quality, relationships, passion, like if you like what Steve Jobs say, if you don't have a love and a passion for what you do, when things get hard, you'll quit. Like, so, if you're going to quit every time things get hard, then maybe this isn't the right gig for you, right? Like maybe you just don't love it as much. So we want to make things fun and have, you know, and make it enjoyable too. Like, but also be very serious and put out a really good ass product. So like we preach them. So one thing I do is core values. I put it into everything. So all of our job descriptions start with at Rock Hill Screen Printing. We
give 3.5 stars.
Right. We give 3.5-star customer service. We give all these things, right? But that's how it starts off. And you get them to sign off on it because that's their expectation.
Yeah.
And anytime you have a review, anytime you have a disciplinary action, you're just like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Now I take it to the extreme. We did the 2-second lean stuff for a while. I have morning meetings. I just got to team together. It may not be every morning, but like, for 10 minutes, I'll say, let's talk about the things that are going on in the shop and hey, somebody rattle off a core value. And so that's from networking too. BNI was a lot of that. So somebody says, all right, quality, and they say what it means to them. And now they're saying it out loud to their employees and their peers. Like, so it has to, and give me an example of that, how we do that here. Give me an example of what that means in your own personal life or whatever. And like, yes, that could get cheesy, but if you've got a team that's bought in, you can know and trust that they're on board.
I was going to say, in all honesty, I could never do that here. I would be laughed out of the room.
You would be laughed out of the room.
They would basically tell me to go fuck myself.
Right. but that's an opportunity to at least get them on board.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, the whole the production team meeting for 10 minutes, I think is awesome. I don't think that's necessarily valuable in the office, but I think as production, it's awesome because it's like, hey, like we have this rush order today, we have this going on, you know, this is going to show up UPS, like all these different notes that they would need instead of just everybody has to run to the calendar all the time. It's kind of nice.
And then the one thing I do say is, like from the coaching perspective, I said the hardest thing to do, and I tell all employees this, I'm like, the hardest thing to do in your life is to, when things get bad, to hesitate from blaming someone else, complaining about your circumstances, or defend yourself. I say it's no BCDs, no blaming others, no complaining about your circumstances, and no defending yourself. That is the hardest thing to do in life. The hardest thing to do in life. I can't do it.
I understand that.
Right? Like I have a struggle in doing that, but that's the way you're going to be super successful. It's like, if you own it, then you'll own everything. Like you'll own the good, the bad, and you'll get better. Like if you start to play the blame game, if you complain about your circumstances, you're never going to get anywhere. These kids that played football that were struggling in life, that was my thing. Listen, here we're not complaining about our circumstances. We're going to be a better person.
They just sit in it. They just come up with the excuses and they just sit in it. Like, it's out of my control. Traffic was bad and this happened and my grandma punched me in the face and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, fucking, are you going to do something about it? Or are you just going to bitch about it? Like, what's going on here?
So no BCDs is another thing that I would highly recommend trying to tap into. And then the final thing that I would say is, so when your employee comes, or when you're thinking about raises at the end of the year or wherever if you do raises or whatever, in any circumstances, employees reach a certain point to where you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to start making more than me at some point. But that employee is basically on hourly. Well, you could take an hourly employee and make them salary without even the amount of that they're making, like, changing.
You're just guaranteeing them a certain amount of hours.
You're guaranteeing them hours, which makes them think like they don't have to do the time card anymore. Or they don't have to do the ticket anymore to punch in, punch out. They're, but they're expected, we're giving you a promotion. We're expecting you to do better. And they see that as like an advancement. And it's not like you're tricking them, because you are giving them a lot more trust.
You're giving them peace of mind, which is worth a lot.
Peace of mind without even giving them a raise is just switching them to salary. And so that's what we started to do with our employees too. Like, that we're getting higher on. We're like, all right, listen,
all of my managers are on salary. And that to me is like you said, it's like a show of good faith of like, I trust that you're going to be here every day. You're going to do what it is you got to do, and you're going to take care of me. I wouldn't do salary for anybody else that, like, the regular staff, because, and this isn't a knock to them. It's just that in our industry, we have slow months. We have, end of December, January, February. And like, there are days where it's like, okay, they're staring at an empty computer screen. And I'm like, well, do you want to go home? And they're like, yeah, I can go home. Like, I don't need to be here. Like, whatever. And it's like, all right, cool. Well, I don't have to pay you 40 hours. Like,
this is true.
They're cool with 22 hours or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think it's the important people too. Like, it's the art guy who, like, will not hesitate to take the computer home and work on art.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's doing it anyways. It's the production manager who won't hesitate when you ask him to go pick up something at Carolina Made, and he'll come in on a Friday when he doesn't have to come in on a Friday, and he's staying later on purpose. Like, he's wanting to stay later. Yeah. He doesn't need to, he's wanting to.
Well, they take pride and respect in the business, and they want to make sure things are taken care of. Yeah.
So if you start to take care of those people, then now you've got your A team that allows you to go to Mexico.
Exactly. All right. On that note, on the Mexico note, I got some quick takes for you before we wrap up.
Okay, cool.
I'm bringing these back. We haven't done quick takes in forever, and I'm bringing it back. All right. Number one, what shirt has your shop printed that you are most proud of?
A design or just the shirt?
Anything. Well, like it could be your favorite band printed with you, and you're like, I'm so proud of this.
I think the biggest thing right now is the masking tape design that we just did. That kind of
I did see that, and I'm seeing a lot of people copy it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it all over. Like, I saw Rush Orders Tees one the other day too.
Christy got picked up by a magazine in the UK to write an article about it. So that's pretty cool. I'm proud I'm proud for my artist who did it, and for like her to be able to do like just another article and promote the business in another country. So that
rules.
Yeah. So that's my big one.
Okay.
For that.
Number two, what shows or movies are you currently into?
I'm into Goliath. That's because I watched Landman, and Billy Bob Thornton's pretty badass. But just
isn't that that's another Billy Bob show, right? I've never seen Goliath.
Goliath is just another Billy Bob thing, and it's kind of it's nuts. It goes weird. It's kind of goes.
Is that an older show? Like, that's done now, right? That's not continuing.
Nah, it's done.
Okay.
I've done the whole we went on the whole Yellowstone thing and all that stuff. I mean, but yeah, no, that's what I'm into. I'm into a bunch of Marvel movies. Like that's me and my son's guilty pleasures, Marvel movie.
Yeah. We just rewatched Ted Lasso for the second time. And just finished House. Like we went through and rewatched all the House episodes. And I just finished Silo, which I loved. I thought that was great. So I'm excited for the next season. But
yeah, Ozark, all those things that like those big long series are fun. But
yeah,
you sound like you like more comedies than
I don't like more comedies. I mean, Ted Lasso is just like heartwarming. That's that show. Like generally, I'm not like into the comedies that much. Sci-fi is mostly my thing. I do love like action movies and, you know, cheesy things and Sasquatch movies and all this other stuff. Creature features. So like X-Files is my favorite show.
Okay.
And like Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and all that stuff. But yeah, it's movies and TV is like one of my favorite things. Like I really enjoy that. So I wanted to bring that back into the quick takes and get what you can tell a lot about a person by hearing what their favorite shows are.
Well, I don't know if Yellowstone defines me. But
okay, good. I got burned out on it. I started watching it like everybody else, and I was like, all right, I'm into this, whatever. And then I got probably like halfway through it, and I was like, this is just like, it got so famous that you could tell the show was affected by the fame. You know what I mean? They were doing shit that was just like, they wouldn't have done this in season one. They're just doing it because they want Rip to like come out of a doorway and be like, oh my God, he's so beautiful. It's like, all right, I'm fucking over this show.
Yeah. And then Costner quit. So
yeah, exactly. He knew what was up. All right. Next one. What is your go-to album? Like favorite album of all time?
Pearl Jam 10.
It's great.
That's old school.
You were right there with that one.
91, 92, something like that. Is that when that is? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Last one. What is your guilty pleasure?
Ice cream, sweets.
Are you one of those guys that has to have a bowl of ice cream every night before bed?
It's bad. It's bad. But I also have to walk and do all kinds of exercise to be able to justify it for sure. But like,
isn't that depressing? Like, I'm not saying is eating ice cream depressing. I'm saying that like, I love walking. It's my favorite thing, but like, I will go for a walk, say 5 miles, and you look at like how many calories you burn from that 5 miles or whatever. Then you go back and you eat a bowl of ice cream, and it's like, this is more than the 5 miles. Yeah. Like, I just walked 2 hours straight or something, and I'm back, and I had one bowl of ice cream, and it completely over negated the walk.
Have you considered rucking?
That sounds, I don't even know what rucking is.
So you basically take a backpack and you put weight in it. And
I know what you're talking about.
Just pulls your shoulders back and gets your posture good. But then it's actually really healthy for you. It's better than doing a weighted vest or anything like that when you walk.
Well, I prefer hiking. Like I prefer going on trails and up mountains and through trees and everything else. So I do carry a backpack with like, survival stuff in it and whatever. But I haven't done like purposely taking weight. Like the object of hiking is to have the lightest pack possible, not to like fill it with weights.
You want to enjoy it. Yeah.
I see those people, I'm not going to go too hard into this because there's friends that do it, but like those people that are like, dude, I'm all for my jog. And they got like, it looks like they got a bulletproof vest on, like ankle weights and shit. I'm like, just get fat like the rest of us and carry weight around like a man. Yeah. Like,
I was like, that's when we went to Mexico. I'm like, if I take my shirt off, sweetie, we're gonna have problems, I think.
I've been that way my whole life. I'm not a stoked to take my shirt off human being. I also have a sweater on underneath this t-shirt. So, it's just a hair mess. So let's just leave it alone. I'll leave the t-shirt on. I shave my arms, so I look normal. My grandfather, this is getting off the rails, but my grandfather was like super hairy. My family was, but he didn't give a fuck. He had chest hair coming out of the top of his t-shirt like 6 inches. Like literally it was just like out and like mixed in with his beard. And I was like, I can't be that person. Like I love you, but like I cannot have hair falling out of my shirt. So I took a stance on that. So I wear a t-shirt in pride.
Is that the Bigfoot thing then? Is that
Yeah, I just have to shave my whole face to look like a human being, like a normal person. Because if I don't, I will just be one of those like all covered people.
All right.
Well, on that note,
something new.
thanks for doing this today, Jeremy. I appreciate it, man. I'm really glad, honestly, that like your story's awesome, and I'm glad that like it all worked out in that way, and you guys are like doing it. You know, it could have gone sideways at any moment, and you've handled it awesome. And I think a lot of that is attributed to the hard work, dedication of being an engineer and your wife being a nurse, and, you know, Christy coming in with her experience. And I think you guys are doing great things. So
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
Yeah, dude. Well, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dylan.
Later, dude.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
See ya.